Welcome to Dadtrepreneur, the podcast tailor-made for the modern man balancing personal development, business, and family. This is Dadtrepreneur.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Dadtrepreneur podcast. We talk about all things man, even the stuff men don't want to talk about. I'm your co-host, Billy G.
What's going on, guys? I'm Jared.
And today's episode 6, we kind of wanted to tailor this towards decision-making in life. In life, you are faced with tons of decisions, pretty much on a daily basis. And those decisions impact your life, whether for good or for bad.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of factors that come into play, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your partner, that's huge, whether it's in business or in just a normal everyday, your actual relationship. So there's so many factors that I think come into play as well in the decision making and who it's going to affect that kind of makes it that much harder making it.
Definitely, because I don't know about you. I mean, I consider myself a pretty considerate person, and I don't try to make all my decisions totally based out of self. I try to take whoever I'm with, relationship-wise, business-wise, even friendship-wise, family-wise, into consideration when I make certain decisions.
So I'm guilty of doing both.
Of course, yeah, I am too.
Yeah. So sometimes I'm impulsive. I'm impulsive and I act on things too quickly, and it's not with the intention of not including my partner,
right,
or whoever I should talk to when it comes down to making that decision. It's just I act on the moment too quickly, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's part of the stuff that I need to work on.
Well, I think sometimes too, at least for me, like I don't realize my impact. I don't realize that a decision that I'm going to make can have like that butterfly effect.
Correct. Rippling effect.
Yes, exactly. And I've experienced tons of this in my life, not decisions that I've made, but me suffering the consequences that other people's decisions have made, and I think sometimes we don't realize it in the moment until after it already happens.
100%.
I do something or someone does something to me unintentionally through a decision that they made, and it has this massive effect that kind of spiders out.
It's way more important than I think people realize. Even as I was thinking about talking about it tonight, I started just thinking about all the things that come with it. And it's something that I think I really, really need to work on, just not being so impulsive.
Yeah.
Because of exactly what you're saying, because every action has a reaction, and that reaction is going to trickle down into other things without me even thinking or knowing about it.
Yeah.
So it's so important.
What makes you think that you're more impulsive than you would be considerate? Like, what makes you be impulsive?
To be honest, I don't know the answer. If I knew, I'd fix it right away, I think it's insecurities for the most part.
Yeah.
Take my most recent car purchase, purchases, I should say, that most people don't even know about, that are friends with me, because I didn't post it or anything like that.
Yeah.
So the Porsche, I bought a GT3.
Yeah.
And I bought
Sick car.
It was an amazing car.
Sick.
But, I didn't really stop to think hey, you're about to go in for back surgery. Now, look, my logic was my back surgery was going to go as it was supposed to.
Yes.
So it made it that much worse.
Kind of fair,
But that's
fair
sometimes
assessment.
Stupid either way, right? It was just a poor decision all around, to be honest with you. And it was very impulsive. It was, hey, I'm going to go check this car out, to, hey, I'm leaving with this car. Most people, when making a purchase like that, at least go home to sleep on it. And I didn't even do that, So I don't know the answer as to why I'm so impulsive. I think my guess would be a lot of it is insecurities, at times at least.
Do you feel like you're more impulsive when it comes to buying items than you are with making maybe bigger life decisions?
Sometimes. I would say that even in business, if I like something and I have a good feeling about it, I'm very quick to act on it. Jordan tells me all the time, you act on things, you go based off emotions too often, and sometimes it can work out really well, and sometimes it could completely blow up in your face.
Yeah.
So honestly, I would say I'm pretty impulsive all around. It's not because at the end of the day, I wouldn't say that I'm materialistic. Again, I think a lot of times it's due to insecurities, and then you do it, and then 2 months later, it's not cool anymore.
Right.
It doesn't give you that feeling.
Or you think it's going to make you feel good.
Correct.
Yeah. Maybe more so an addiction.
Could be.
Yeah.
Definitely could be.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that's what it mean, that's what it feels like to me. I mean, because I also too make some impulsive decisions, some of which you know about. We won't mention the watch. I've made impulsive decisions too, and I notice I'm definitely more impulsive when it comes to like shopping.
Yeah.
When it comes to maybe buying an item for myself. And my justification for it always is...
I was just going to ask.
I do this every time. Well, I lived years with nothing, and then years like a hermit doing nothing. Like the greatest thing I did was maybe go to Universal for a day or two, and I didn't buy anything for myself or clothes from Walmart. I drove a Toyota Corolla. Like I lived really humbly, so to say. And now I'm kind of like, you know what, man? Like, life's really short.
Yep. Can't take it with you.
Yeah. Life's really short. And like, I've had a lot of people pass away recently, some extremely close to home. And it's kind of given me this perspective of if it's not going to like put me out on the streets and like turn off the bill, the electric over my head. Like if I want it, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
And I think like those decisions, at least for me, aren't affecting anybody other than me. At least I don't think so. Like who does me buying a watch affect? Nobody. My daughter still eats exactly the same. She still drives me in the same car. She goes to the same school. Those types of things for me, like I feel like that impulsivity only hurts me in the end. It's the bigger life decisions that I think if people act impulsively on, it can start to affect, their living standards or, like take gambling, for example, like really impulsive habit, right? And a lot of those people, they go down really dark holes with it. And it starts to affect their families, it starts to affect their children, their financial status, they don't have a roof over their head, they're in debt. I feel like, at least for me, I think things through pretty thoroughly when it comes to things like that. It's more so like the dumb purchases that I probably don't need that I'm a bit more impulsive on.
Yeah. I do a mix of both. So, look, one of the biggest, I don't want to call it a regret, but one of the biggest things, and it wasn't due to being impulsive, but the house, like the building a house in this climate of my business, I would never choose to do it, but I also didn't know that my business was going to get so heavily impacted by the rates, which is completely out of our control.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that that's a regret or that was an impulsive decision I was making. I was doing very well for years, and then I decided to do it.
Oh, yeah, and there is such thing as bad luck. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That's definitely a real thing.
Which I also think it's important to not dwell on your decisions because it's already made.
Correct.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, correct.
I think it's so important to stick to your decision.
Right.
And it's very hard to do that. Like, as we always say, we're not masters of it.
No,
like,
God, no.
I am. I really struggle sometimes, like of not feeling that pressure, but it's good, in my opinion, it's good to have that pressure,
Yeah.
I think it's a necessity, but it's definitely stressful.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And like, at least for me, when it comes to, bigger life decisions like changing a job, changing relationships, big purchases with money, like buying a house, I think like I feel like I walk things through a bit in my mind.
What's your process?
So, I think I have the initial thought of I want.
Yep.
Right. And it'd be so easy to just go do it. And I do, I do those things with smaller things. But then, I start to think about, okay, well, why do I want this? What is my motivation for wanting this? And if I'm honest with myself, I can really make the decision there, whether this is going to be even a decent move for me or not. If the reason why I want something is to like elevate my status or to make myself seem like a little bit higher than I really am, then that decision is probably not for the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And look, I can be very guilty of, wanting to live like a rock star. You know what I mean? Like wanting to kind of like show my successes in life.
Yeah.
Because again, I came from a place of absolutely nothing. Now, if I'm making a decision based on good values, like this is actually going to bring value to my life, then I start to pursue it a little further. And there's steps to take, like buying a house, man. You don't just wake up one day and buy a house.
Yeah.
There's a whole process involved. Luckily, there's a whole process involved.
It's a lot harder than people think.
Yeah, it's difficult, man. They go through
so
all
many
your
hoops.
stuff.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's only getting worse.
It's ridiculous, man. So it's like, some of those bigger life decisions, luckily, like most of them can't be impulsive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like they have to, they require multiple steps, and you can change your mind at any point during those steps.
True.
You know? So I think for me that answering that first question is of why do I want this? Why am I doing this? Looking at my intentions can really put me in my place. You know, and look, that doesn't mean I'm always honest with myself either. You know, It doesn't always mean that I can't justify a reason to do something, because I always can.
I'm a hell of a justifier.
Yeah, me too. I can definitely be one. But if I'm being real with myself, I know whether I'm making a good decision or not.
Yeah. Deep down, I feel like you always know.
Yeah.
You know, like as I was at the Porsche I knew.
Yeah.
I knew that it wasn't the smartest decision.
Yeah.
And I was smart enough to leave with it.
Yeah.
So, again, I need to work on it. I'm well aware of it. You know, I'm well aware of I have to work on it. And I was even just talking to Daniela. She was the one that brought up the point of like, your partner does heavily impact your decisions, or it should. So when I was talking to Daniela, we were talking about the fact that she wanted to start a business, and the business, I'm going to keep it vague, had to do with children, right? And she was making a point that she has the fear of failure, and it's more so on a monetary side of things. So she's scared that she's going to fail, and then I'm going to lose the money that I invested. When, you know, in my head, I'm like, I think it's crazy, but she's like, everyone's different, which is true. Not everyone is wired to take that leap of faith and take that chance and potentially lose a lot of money, you know, and time and
effort,
just everything. Exactly. Blood, sweat, tears, but money, most times it comes down to money. People either don't have the money saved up, or they don't have the financial backing to, support what they want to do. So that's why she doesn't kind of take chances, I guess you could say. But in my head, it kind of made me feel bad, because I was like, I have no problem giving her the money to go start whatever she wants to start, you know? So hopefully she does what I said. I was like, make a list of pros and cons, get an idea of what it's going to cost.
Right.
Because that's how it should be, right? It's like,
you're laying out a plan.
Exactly. Come up with reasons as to why it's a good idea or a bad idea, and then weigh it out. Is it worth it? Is it worth the worst case scenario? I think that's so important. Like,
I like that.
The worst case scenario would be, okay, it's a year's worth of rent. It's $8,000 a month. I have to fully furnish it with all the kids' toys and stuff, whatever it's going to be. Staff it. Yeah. Risk, liability, potential lawsuits. There's a lot that comes into play, but at least you have a worst case scenario, and then you could say, hey, do I still want to pursue this? Yeah. I feel like that would be a really good way of honestly attacking anything, especially that's important enough to do something like that. Obviously, if you're looking at a pair of sneakers, you're not going to weigh out the pros and cons and the worst case scenario.
I really should, though. I really should.
But it's as simple as, do I really need a 55th pair of shoes? Am I really going to wear it? Most times,
yes.
The answer is no, but we're dumb enough to continue buying them. So, again, another thing I cannot preach about, I have a closet full of them. So, yeah, I think that's a really good way of attacking decision making, and it's something that I need to practice, because I'm like coming up with it and I'm like, that's a good idea.
Yeah, like never I was just gonna say, you just solved your own problem.
A day in my life. I swear I've never done it. And that makes me sick to my stomach as I say it, because I've done so much stupid stuff, like when you really break it down, some stuff could have been way worse and it just happened to work out.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think what's equally important too is we're sitting here talking about how to, make a decision, right? Well, how about not making a decision?
Exactly.
How about making the decision to not do something? Because look, man, there are plenty of temptations in life that come across that might feel good immediately, that have long-lasting ramifications, not only in your life, but in the lives of other people, people that you care about, right? So, like, how many couples do you know who are like on again, off again because they keep cheating on each other, right? At what point in their decision-making process were they like, yeah, that's a great idea to just completely go and sleep with somebody else?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, I like, that's a temptation that comes across in life, and you're faced with this decision of, do I do it? Do I not do it? And it's like, how do people go along in life saying no to things like that. And it's not just like the cheating thing, but there's other temptations like drugs, alcohol, gambling.
Sex without a rubber.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk about long term.
Yeah. It's very true. Very true. Like there are other things in life that come along that like give immediate pleasure, so to say, an immediate like, oh, this is good. And can have like this long ramification on your life.
Yeah, completely agree. And it's funny, I said it, sex without a rubber, like I never really thought about it in that light, where it's like, that is pretty crazy when you think about it, especially if you're in a earlier relationship, something that's new, and you're just spur of the moment seeking that better feeling.
Right.
I've done it. Not smart.
Mom, turn it off.
Yeah,
turn the podcast
off. But it really is really dumb when you stop and think about it. But come on, like think about when you are in the moment. It's like the likelihood of you going
making the decision. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like those are the hard decisions. Us like talking about buying shoes, buying cars, like those are like luxury decisions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like the decisions that come across in life where like they really matter, like how do you say no to certain things? Like, look, man, drinking and driving. At what point, do you make that decision to call somebody, to call an Uber, and you don't do it? You don't realize the absolute long-lasting ramifications that may have on you and the people in your lives, right? And that's something a lot of people are guilty of, including myself, okay? Yeah. Including me. Yep. Now, granted, it's been a long time, but including me, and it can be, a lot of these decisions can be so fast that like, it's almost like you don't even have time to weigh it like that. You know what I mean? So like how do you like go into those situations? How do people go into those situations?
Well, look, how is a drunk person gonna be in a right mindset to weigh out pros and cons of driving home? It's not only is it not common, it's just probably non-existent.
Right.
That someone is drunk to the point where they should not be driving. No, look, if you're drunk, you shouldn't be driving at all, period. I understand that. But you get what I'm trying to say. When you get to a point of...
where it's like sloppiness.
Exactly. Being blacked out.
Yeah.
You're most likely blacked out at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I could attest, you're non-existent. Like, you are not there.
Right.
You're blacked out.
Yeah.
So there's no way in hell you're making a pros and cons list and weighing out... It's not even a thought that crosses your mind.
Of course.
So
that's what I mean.
But yeah, it is crazy.
That's what I mean.
It makes you like sick to your stomach almost to think about that, because I haven't done it a ton, but I've done it more than once, which is too much.
Yeah.
One time is too many. If you really want to be real about it, because all it takes is one time.
Well, what happens sometimes too is like, let's say you do something like that, or, I see this a lot in recovery too, where like someone will relapse, they'll get high, right? And then the worst thing in the world that could happen happens. And that is absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing happens.
Because no lesson gets learned?
Yep. And then your brain goes, see? It's not really a big deal.
Makes sense.
And then you'll do it again.
That makes perfect sense.
You'll do it again.
That's exactly what it is.
It's exactly what it is.
I made it home 30 minutes before. This is 10 minutes away.
I'm fine.
I know this route like the back of my hand.
Yep.
And then some simple thing like you making a wrong turn or go in a different direction can completely change
everything.
Your life and everyone that is in your life.
Yeah.
No, it's wild. No one thinks that way.
No.
Do you think that part of it is because you did go through recovery? Do you think that's a factor?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Because, look, man, the people who may be listening to this who knew me a decade ago know I was no patron saint, okay? I was a really, like, awful person, honestly. That part of my life was so shrouded in darkness because of the stronghold that substances had on me. So I know what that's like to, like, make decisions that as a normal person I would never make, and to be in that moment of, well, this is going to get me what I want, so I'm just going to do it, and I'll just deal with it later. I do have some compassion on that side. I really do. But I think the sober person in me can maybe sit on a high horse a little bit, and be like, how dare you? And it's a fine
juggling act.
Yeah, exactly. It really
You have
is
your
a
moments of
juggling
being
act.
understanding, and then
Yes,
you
I
have your moments of
flip-flop.
being angry.
Yes, I flip-flop.
Look, it's understandable.
Yeah,
It's
I totally
still-
flip-flop. There's a history to it that adds to the frustration,
Mm.
you know, that makes me like, I told you so.
Yeah.
You know? Again, that high horse thing, you know, I told you so. And you know, it's just different every day. It's different every day. And like, I wish it hadn't happened, you know? Of course I do. But I also think it's a little like messed up when, you know, I have maybe other people who watch my life for whatever reason that think they have something to say about like what my reaction should be or how my life should be now. And it's like, dude, you know, were you on the side of the road when they told you? Mm-hmm. Were you there the next morning to tell a 3-year-old girl what happened? Were you there to sign off on, you know, an urn and like pick stuff out? Were you there when the medical examiner called? Were you there when the police called? No, you weren't. You know, and you have no idea what it's like to be in those shoes.
Well,
you know?
look, unfortunately, we live in a world where majority of people make their judgment based off what they see on Instagram and that alone, right?
Or the little gossips.
Or what they
you know?
hear, of course.
Yeah, the little gossips.
What they hear from other people that are, again, getting their information from Instagram. So
yeah.
it's not a reliable source. It's not a good
Of
source.
course. And I try to tell people that, man. Like, you know, this like thing that you scroll on doesn't show everything. You know, like I talked about this on the first episode, but you know, when it first happened, I spilled my whole life onto that. You know what I mean? And like when I stopped, I feel like people were like, "Oh, well, I guess he just all better now."
100%.
Guess he just doesn't care anymore.
Yep.
You know, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, because again, they're only going based off what they see, right? They don't see you on the drives home, stuff like that. Yeah, so I think that's the main thing is, you know, we make our assumptions, we see what we see on social media, and we assume that's all there is, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone takes the time. I guess it circles back to decision making. They make the decision to start judging you prematurely. You know, they don't stop to think like, hey, there's a whole nother life outside of Instagram.
Yeah.
For
No
the most
shit.
part, you know, like
Yeah.
let's be honest. Majority of the stuff you see on Instagram all around is bullshit. Like we talk about this on a few of the episodes. It's like, it's so easy to paint a picture of like,
It's so easy to just jump to a conclusion, you know, and like make up this story. And I feel like I've talked to people who have done that with me, where like they jump to this conclusion and they make up this story in their head that is totally inaccurate. I was talking to someone recently where like, you know, they wrote me this whole thing about like, you know, that I've like erased her, you know, and I started to kind of chuckle, and I was like, what makes you think that? You know, just please tell me what makes you think that. And she spouted off a couple reasons, and I'm like, you know, none of those things make any sense. Are you there every night when I talk to Charlotte about her? You know, are you there every day when, you know, my daughter brings her up and we talk about her? Like, there's a picture of her in Charlotte's room. Like, I'm confused on how you think that I've just massively erased this person. And I think it really boils down to because I've gotten into another relationship. So many people think that because I've gotten into another relationship that I've just like magically made her disappear.
Yeah.
And it's so completely not true. And I've talked to other widows and widowers, and a lot of them, are on the same exact page as me. It's the same exact page. Mm-hmm. You know, I would just consider myself kind of lucky that like I found someone who was worthwhile, you know, kind of quickly, rather than watching people who go through the dating process, you know. And because look, once everything happened, tons of people reached out to me. And a lot of them were people who are going through similar situations as me, maybe different details, right? But the same situation of losing your significant other. And a lot of them are like, you know, man, it sucks out here. It sucks like trying to date and like move on and like live your life. And especially when you have a kid, you know, like what you're supposed to just like sulk all day and have your kid be worse off. So like it really made me actually feel kind of good when I talk to those people because it makes me feel like I'm not alone, number one. And it makes me feel like I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Because if I listen to certain people, they make me seem like I'm insane. And it's like, well, again, like you've never walked down this path. So how could you even tell me anything about it? I don't tell you how to do certain things, right? Because I don't live your life, And like I had to make a decision at some point where it was like, well, do I even give this a shot or do I not? Because the way it worked for me was random. I wasn't on like, some dating app or something. Yeah. Like, it's not how it worked. Like some of these people do that really quick.
Yeah.
And that wasn't me at all. Someone just organically came into my life and I was faced with this decision where I'm like, do I say no because society thinks I should?
To please other people.
Yes. Or do I listen to my gut? Because my gut says to investigate, right? And I'm so glad that I didn't give in to like what people think I should do, because I feel like I've found something that has turned into something really good, and like, yeah, it may be strange to hear, maybe strange to watch, maybe strange to see, but like my life isn't for anybody to see. It's, if you want to watch it, that's on you, dude, but like my life is for me to live it because I could leave this house tonight and die. And then what? Like what? I will have held myself back from any promise of happiness. People act like you got time. They're like, oh, you should give it a while. People act like you have time here. You don't have time. You have no idea when your number is called. So what? We're supposed to just walk around on this rock thinking that we've got all this time to do what we want to do. That's not true. Samantha didn't have time. My Uncle Jake, he didn't have time. I'm going to his funeral tomorrow.
That's crazy.
Tons of people I know who walked through life thinking they got time, and you don't. So the biggest lesson that Samantha is ever going to teach me is that I don't got time. And it's that I need to live every moment as happily and organically as I can, and that's what I've done. So maybe if people watch this and they're the ones who gossip on me, maybe they take that into consideration.
Probably not. I would hope, but like maybe, I'm just trying to be me and try not to really waste too much time here. Would you say that the people that are gossiping are the ones that were close to Samantha?
Some.
So it's probably fair to say that part of it is grieving as well, right? Like everybody grieves in their own way.
Man. And look, just as I wouldn't want people telling me what to do, you got to tell them what to do either. Definitely.
But your logic is, if you don't like it, then don't follow me. Don't watch me.
Well, my logic is like, it's not for you to like or dislike.
Yeah.
Just like whatever you do is not for me to like or dislike. Like we're supposed to be like a team.
Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't directly impact them. Same thing that we circled.
Exactly. Like we're supposed to be like a team, I feel like. And I feel like I've been like voted off the island sometimes. And like, I didn't do anything wrong. That's the messed up part. That's the part that always gets me, where I'm like, I didn't even do anything.
So for the ones that you actually got in a room and had a conversation with, do you feel that they're more understanding now?
Oh, without a doubt.
So then that's
without a doubt.
It's the answer. It's the fact that they don't have all the facts. They're making their assumptions based off what they see and hear. And that's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. The ones who I've actually sat down and had a face-to-face to, or at least spoke to on the phone, like once I've kind of given my position, it's like, maybe they don't like it.
Yeah.
But like, that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't like a lot of things either. I accept them though. I accept them for what they are because it is what they are. And that kind of ties into like a whole thing with like, the decision-making process, like they can decide to, like and not like something. It's perfectly okay. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't hurt my feelings. My whole thing is just like, don't treat me any differently.
Yeah.
Don't treat me any differently because I feel like I need to do my thing.
I get it. As much as I possibly can. Mm-hmm. And again, I think it's the biggest issue is they have not been through anything even remotely close to what you've been through. So that's a huge, huge factor. So it doesn't really make sense when you do stop and think about it to have that judgment. Sometimes it's going to happen. It's just human nature. But hopefully, like you said, hopefully they come around eventually. But at the same time, like you also said, who cares?
I mean, I care about some of them because it's just the type of guy I am. Like, I don't like hurting people's feelings.
Well, if they're tied in your life and you have to see them, that's
I mean, I don't like hurting people's feelings. It's not what I like to do. But at the same time, like, I'm not going to change what I do or who I am to spare your feelings either. Like, you have to make that decision whether you're going to continue to converse and jive with me or not. Like, my feelings won't change. I've just realized that, like, I don't got time to, like, sit around and pretend like I can be happy later.
That's why I like, off subject, but I got that mortality thing. I don't know if you saw it, where you basically a bunch of squares and you a lot of people hate it. Because it's morbid.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
dude. No, it's crazy.
But it puts things in perspective.
And that's like best case scenario.
Exactly. That's if I make it all the way.
Best case scenario.
Correct. Yeah, because I think it's to 80 years. It might be a little less.
Average male is the 78 years old.
Average male, yeah, correct.
78 years old.
So let's say it's the 78. That's crazy to say, man.
Yeah.
I'm 34.
Yeah.
Basically halfway there.
Yeah. I'll be 35 in March.
That is crazy to think, but that's why I like it.
I know. I really feel like I went through, like, my midlife crisis, I really do. Like, this whole thing has, like, propelled.
Maybe that's what 2023 is.
It's just the midlife crisis.
Wow.
Probably for you too,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. I really feel like I hit my midlife crisis in 2023. Just a whirlwind of just insane things.
Yeah.
And it made me just look at myself and look at my life and be like, I'm just not going to walk on eggshells on my life anymore, dude. I'm just not, dude. I'm going to do what I think I need to do it to the fullest. And whenever the man upstairs decides to call me home, I can at least say that I walked with purpose and that I walked with intention and I did what I was going to do, what I wanted to do,
It makes sense. My mind's racing now because we just kind of put things in a different perspective. But I guess in my head, I'm like justifying my dumb purchases. He's right. He's right. Tomorrow.
Could be any day.
I got to go buy a different car. Yeah. No, but look, overall, I think what we're trying to say is you do absolutely most times need to weigh out the pros and cons and who it's going to affect and stuff like that. So I feel like important to get back on track here. I guess the question is, like, because everyone's different, so I don't think there's a one size fits all type of answer here. I think it's
situational.
Exactly.
Dependent.
It's situational and it's dependent on the person too. Mm-hmm. So it's situational all around, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So what do you think the best roadmap is to making better decisions?
Man, I mean, I think that you, at least for I should say I speak for myself. I need to weigh out what I can, okay? And I think that it's kind of like repetition. If I continue to make the right decisions over and over and over, it's almost like they become second nature, If I continue to make the wrong decisions over and over and over, those become second nature too.
I was going to say, yeah.
Right? So I think that if just by continually doing the right thing and putting one foot in front of the other, and when I'm able to weigh things out, making that right call, when it's a split decision, your brain probably just absolutely automatically does it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Makes sense. Mm-hmm. Let's say it's business. Like, you want to start something, you have an idea, but you can't make the decision to do it, to take the chance, like, I think that those people, like I said about Daniela earlier, need to really dissect the worst case scenario. And if the worst case scenario isn't super life-changing to where you can't recover from it, I think it's crazy to not take the chance, Yeah. And again, Daniela said the same thing. She's like, everybody's different. That's how your mind is. So naturally you're going to think like it's silly to not take the leap of faith, I should say. But I guess I struggle to grasp it because my mind is that way. Mm-hmm. I cannot understand why you would be okay with going through your entire life, like how you won't regret that, how you won't regret taking that chance and trying the business or anything that you have in mind.
Or being with a certain person.
Yeah.
Or,
anything.
It's doing something, right? Like
Getting a new job.
Look, I am of the same mindset as you because, whenever my time is, I would like to think that I fulfilled some sort of destiny. You know what I mean? That I've done some good here and that I've at least done the best I can to be happy during the time I was here. Because you know what, man? I lived a lot of years unfulfilled, unhappy, in a really terrible situation. And like I had to pull myself out of it, right? I needed people to help pull me out of a really deep, dark, nasty hole. So that experience plus this recent experience together has just put me in a place where I'm like, I'm just going to do it. Right? I'm just going to listen to my gut. I'm just going to do it. And listening to my gut, I don't think has ever steered me wrong. Ever. In good or bad. There's been plenty of times where my gut's been like, dude, don't do that. And I did it anyway, and it bit me in the ass. And there's been plenty of times where my gut said, do it, and I didn't do it, and I regretted it.
Dude, that happens to me all the time. Like, it's your intuition.
Yeah.
Your gut's your intuition. So I agree with you. Like, I would say 90% of the time, my gut leads me in the right direction.
Yeah.
And if I'm making poor decisions, it's because I'm ignoring my gut.
Yes. Yes.
So I get exactly what you're saying. I think it's super important to pay more attention to that. Be more aware of your gut or your intuition. Because
whatever that is. And look, it's nothing I can explain, but there, at least in my experience, man, there is no doubt in my mind that there was some sort of force at work in your life.
100%.
You know what I mean? And you can call it whatever you want.
Yeah,
man.
exactly. There's
I
so
don't
many
really
different
care.
ways to think of it.
Yes, I don't really care whatever people call it, but that energy or that whatever it is exists, and I feel it all the time, poking. Something's wrong. Something ain't right. Or
Even vibes you get with people.
Oh yeah. And look, I just can't fake that kind of stuff. Like if I think something is wrong or if I think something is off, I'm simply just going to ask and I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
And it's gotten me in conflict with people before. And it's gotten people very defensive with me before. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but like I'm not going to ignore when I clearly feel is happening.
Yeah.
And you know what? That gut feeling, it's not really been wrong that I can think of. If I felt a vibe that was wrong, I was usually right. And granted, that doesn't mean there are times that maybe I had it nailed down 100%, like my thoughts weren't 100% correct, but I knew something was off. I knew something was going on that I should have listened to. If I'm being completely honest, the day Samantha passed, all day I had that feeling. All day. Something's wrong. Something is wrong. And I ignored it, and I ignored it, and I ignored it. And, when I talk about regret, my biggest regret is not acting on that. My biggest regret is not messaging her and being like, hey, are you good?
Yeah.
Is everything good? Are you safe? I should have done that. So like now I live my life differently. If this tells me something, I act on it for sure. I've had it recently where I felt like something was up and I'll message Charlotte at school. Is she okay? Is she crying? Is everything all right? And I don't care if it makes me seem like I'm some crazy person. Like, have what happened to me happen to you, and like you'll start listening.
Yeah.
It's been one of the biggest things I've dwelled on this whole thing is I knew, but I didn't know. That makes sense.
I get it. Yeah, because I've had as you're talking, I'm thinking of scenarios.
Yeah.
And I think what makes it tricky is when it does involve other people. You know what I mean? So I'll specifically like a business partnership, I would say, because typically in a relationship with your significant other, you're gonna be more inclined to listen to them, I guess you should say. So if they're against your gut feeling, if they're super against it, most times you're gonna probably not proceed with what you want to, just because you know how negatively it's gonna impact your relationship.
Right.
On a business side, sometimes you're almost, I don't want to say forced, but you're in a situation where you have to get that person's back, and you have to allow them to go with what they think is right in that moment. Yeah, and it goes both ways.
It definitely goes both ways.
So I could think of multiple scenarios where Jordan, my business partner, gets my back, and vice versa. And it doesn't always work out. You know, it doesn't always work out, but most times I'm just thinking of like how I felt in that scenario, and my gut typically is right. And it goes to a lot of other things too. You know, again, picking up certain vibes with people. It's crazy when you do pay attention to it, where it could like save you a lot.
Yeah.
It could save you.
And it's so easy to ignore.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. I mean, I try not to anymore, but I definitely have done it all the time where like I'll get a weird feeling, man, and I'll just be like, no, it's okay. No, it's not, dude. It's not. Like if I'm getting a feeling, it's because something is not okay.
Something's off.
And I can't explain what that is. You know, I can't explain. I'm not saying like I'm some like psychic medium or something crazy like that. But what I am saying is that the universe gives warning shots.
For sure.
I truly believe it does. I think they give warning shots, and like you either listen or you don't. And if you don't, there is a price to pay. You know, whether it's emotionally, physically, life, death. It's wise to, when you get that feeling, to go with it, even if it's uncomfortable.
So I haven't really spoken about this, but I was supposed to initially get my first back surgery on a different date, and they called me to change the date, and I don't know why. I don't know what it was, what made me feel this way. It was my intuition apparently, but I just didn't feel right. But at the same time, I was like, if I could get it done sooner, I want to get it done sooner. And look now I have to live with that, and I have to have my mind wonder,
would it have been different?
Correct. If I stuck to my normal date, would I have still gotten a fungus in my spine? I don't know. I might have been the same. It might not have been. But think about it.
Like the batch of hardware they used would have been different.
Correct. Or,
you know,
which most likely it would have, because those would have been in different people.
Yes.
And it's only 2 people out of the 12 a day or whatever, 12, I think it was 12 a week that my surgeon does on a regular basis. Like for a very long time now, it's super rare. So don't know, we'll never know, but now I have to have that. I have to live with that. I have to accept that. And I think, again, it circles back to sticking to your decision and just living with it. You have to accept it. Because dwelling on it is not going to help me.
No, it doesn't help. It drives you nuts is what it does.
Yeah.
You know, I've made tons of poor decisions in my life. And, you know, some have had worse consequences than others. There's nothing I can do to go back. All I can do is look at the lessons that it may have taught me, because maybe in the future when I'm faced with something similar, I'll make a better decision. Yeah. That's really the only way you can look at it.
Yeah, that's really all you could do.
It's the only way you can look at it.
But again, it's one of those topics where it's there's so many different routes and everybody's so different. There's just not a perfect answer to it. You know, I again, every time we have a topic, I try to watch a few things and get some ideas. Everyone's saying something completely different. Of course. Everybody.
Of course.
And I think that's just how it's going to be. But it's definitely one of those things that I personally want to take more time on, you know, just in general, even stupid purchases and, you know, of shoes and stuff like that. Just take a little bit more time.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about it a little longer. Yeah.
I never sleep on it, dude.
Really?
Never.
I do. I sleep on things.
I'm not the guy that adds it to cart and then gets the discount code in the email because it's in the cart.
The abandoned cart.
I commit. So I gotta slow down.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
I will say, I think sobriety has helped me a lot in that regard. You know, there's a saying in AA called playing the tape through. And usually they refer to that when it means if you want to pick up a drink or a drug. But I've kind of taken that into other things in my life, just playing the tape through. So what does it look like if I make this decision? So say I make this decision, what is probably going to happen next? And then what's probably going to happen after that? What are the potential pitfalls that may come after I make this decision? And that saved me quite a bit. It really has. Don't say I do that with everything.
Yeah.
But there definitely are things where I've been about to do it, and I'm like, wait a minute. Let me play that through. And there are definitely times where I backed out, because playing it through, I can see, well, this could actually lead to a lot of problems. You know, and do I really want these problems? Do I really need more problems?
Is it worth it?
Is it really worth it? Yeah. Christ, my life is full of problems. It feels like I don't need to be adding any more.
Yeah.
You know?
It's funny because I think of a couple of situations where it's so enticing because it's one of those things where it seems like you can make a ton of money from it. So that's the upside, right? You can make a ton of money. I could think of one in particular. I'm not going to name names or anything, but we had a business opportunity to basically go into business where someone that we knew was making a ton of money, but we just had a feeling that something wasn't right. And now he's in prison.
Well,
and we could, you know what I mean? That could have completely ruined our lives.
oh yeah.
So it's like, thank God that it didn't happen, but it could have, you know? So I think it's so important that you make sure that the decision you are making lines up with your values.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's very important. If you sit back and you're like, hey, yeah, the upside is I could make a ton of money. The downside is I could potentially end up in big trouble, in jail, lose it all. And it just doesn't match up with my values overall, you know? Like,
no. And like, you know, if, let's say you are in a position to do that and you do that and you take all the money, well, guess what? The government loves taking your money.
Oh, yeah.
They live off of that. They thrive off of taking your money. So you're a double loser. You know what I mean? Like you would lose everything anyway.
Oh, for sure. Even if you go, you're saying like if you go to jail and get out, your money's not going to be there.
It's gone anyway.
So, yeah.
You're done.
Yeah, you better hope you buried some a significant amount over in the backyard. Yeah. Otherwise, it is all gone. All your accounts are frozen. It's done. So, yeah. I definitely think that's important, though, is just making sure that it does line up with your overall core values.
Yeah.
And I never really, again, that's why I like doing this, is it makes you think about stuff. You know, this is all, typically the topics we talk about are stuff that we need to grow in. You know?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's been a productive podcast.
As always.
You know,
always fans.
We think it's the next one's going to be even better. Each one is better than the last. No, but seriously, I want to take a moment too to just thank everybody for their support for this podcast. You know, we thought of this idea just a couple months ago, and you know, Jared really put the initiative forward to get this room built and for us to get going, and it's just been a humbling experience to see so many views, see so many subscribers, so much positive feedback. I really enjoy doing this. I know he does too. And I just want to thank everybody who takes the time to listen to this podcast and give us your feedback and interact and help us grow what we think is something that could be really, really positive for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is surprising, you know, because I showed you, I wrote it down that I wanted to be at 5,000 subscribers come February.
Yeah.
We're at like, I don't even know.
We're at like 7.5.
7,500.
Yeah,
like
that's pretty sick,
I
man.
I honestly did not even imagine. So it's really cool. I definitely do appreciate it. But if you are someone that is holding back feedback, please say something. Like it, share it, subscribe, all the good stuff that helps us out.
Yeah. Ring the bell. You know, you can set notifications to when the podcasts come out. YouTube is a really user-friendly app. Really user-friendly. You know, I also got some feedback too, and we're going to wrap this up, that we should be putting our podcast on like Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff. So that's coming soon. So keep sticking it out with us here on YouTube. Just want to say thanks again. We love you all, and peace out. Bye.
See you next time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Dadtrepreneur. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe for future episodes. Stay connected with us on Instagram at Dadtrepreneur Podcast. See you next time.